Hello and welcome to FinextraTV at EBADay 2020. I'm Hannah Wallace, and in this interview we're going to be talking about real-time payments and how open banking is driving the future of cross-border payments. To guide us through the topic now is Lance Homer, Global Head of Equinix's Digital Payments and Banking Ecosystem. So welcome, Lance. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today, Hannah.
Brilliant. Likewise. So as we witness more and more countries adopting real-time payments to modernise payment platforms, we are, as a result, seeing an increase in innovation, I think it's fair to say. So could you start off for us highlighting what new value is being created here from this, and also a bit about how?
Sure. So we are seeing a lot more countries adopt real-time payments around the world. And the real goal of this for these countries is to modernize their payment systems, and by that create and drive innovation in the landscape. And they're doing that by expanding the ecosystem of participants that are included in that development. And really the key to that value creation that they're trying to achieve is combining the movement of money with the benefits of what the end user is going to experience with this innovation that's driven by open banking, by the new functionalities that fintechs are going to be bringing to the end user experience. And so by making sure that they know how to do that at the beginning will be clear to them to get to the end point.
All right, so can you tell us a bit more about where we are up to with open banking and real-time payments today, and sort of how far we've come from the beginning?
Sure, we're still in the very early days of real-time payments and open banking, but I think we're going to see that the convergence of the two will help speed the adoption for both. And I'd like to just use maybe an example that will help illustrate that. So Linux was often seen as a better operating system than Windows. And I think in the payments landscape, real-time payments is seen as an improvement, a better rail that people want to move towards. But like Linux, it lacked a friendly user interface. Mm-hmm. So open banking is going to give that real-time payments rail the friendly user interface so that people can access their account and initiate payments. And that will increase the adoption across the landscape for both consumers and enterprise. But so right now, as for now, this is working very well for moving money between two participants on the same real-time payment network. But when you try to go across countries, it's not there yet.
Sure. All right. So how do you think we can expect things to develop across the globe, and what impact has ISO 20022 had on the world of payments, do you think? What about that?
So as these countries have adopted real-time payments, they've been basing the new platforms on a common standard, ISO 20022. And that's a messaging format that allows them to embed different details than just a traditional payment. So the great thing about this is, again, using another analogy here, is that just like shipping containers revolutionized moving goods around the world, ISO 20022 is doing the same for payments. So what may have been in the container would be different from each container physically. The ability to route them from water, rail, or road became really possible. Mm-hmm. And as a container for payments, the ISO 20022 standard will do the same for payments, making it easier to go across borders because everyone's expecting the same type of message format. Now, open banking is at different stages around the world, whether it's regulator driven like in Europe or more industry driven like in the Americas. It's going to continue to expand and make it easier for third parties to connect to banks on behalf of their customers and to access account information and initiate payments.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, you certainly painted the picture for us there, and a good analogy as well there. But following from that, what do you think are going to be the main drivers for adoption, and also a bit about why?
Well, I see that there's going to be a change in the landscape of how real-time payments are interconnected across the globe, and I expect there's going to be a rise in what I would call a network of networks. And what we're seeing is that some very large acquisitions and directions of some companies that I think will be potential players in the space. Swift has implemented GPI. And MasterCard's had this dominant presence in the real-time payment space with their acquisition of VocaLink. And between the three, a few others along that line that could potentially rise up to be a network that will help connect the real-time payment rails in different economies around the world. So each of these, as well as others, are going to be pushing to be the network of networks between open banking and real-time payments across the globe in the next coming years. And I think that's what we'll see.
Sure. Well, I have to ask then, following on from that, what are going to be some of the challenges still left to tackle, and how should they be addressed? For example, how do you connect thousands of financial institutions and the fintechs in dozens of countries across the globe to comply with data residency requirements? Because this is by no means an easy feat. What do you think?
Hannah, that's an excellent question. Really what it amounts to is the architecture that they've been using for the last 30, 40 years for payments is not going to be sufficient for being agile and being able to deploy in all these countries. And so they really have to build an architecture that begins with the end in mind of that they need to be in lots of different countries. So they're going to need to distribute the connectivity and build an edge in different locations to connect each real-time payment ecosystem and the participants that are going to be using that real-time payments ecosystem. I think the important thing here is for them to realize that this is not just about the movement of money. That's becoming commoditized. It's really about creating that value in the data exchange. And really, in the end, by having a presence in all these different locations and having a distributed architecture, they're able to do data analytics, AI, ML at the edge, and create value that wasn't there with just the movement of money. And so the key here is not just to build dumb pipes that can connect all these refineries of data, but actually be the one that's doing the refining of the data and creating the new value there.
Well, I'll be fascinated to see how this space develops, and thank you so much for clearing up a few things there. But for now, Lance, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insights. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah.